Hi everyone, my name is Cal Reasons and I'm here to talk to you about a very controversial topic, chocolate. Think about your favorite chocolate. Why is it your favorite? Have you ever thought about how it was made or where it comes from before it gets to your grocery store and into your Halloween treat bags? Hershey and Nestle have become two major household names in the growing cocoa debate, but their impact is far more sinister than it is sweet. Comparing their massive profits alongside their child labor statistics reveal the deeper problems for both corporations that negate any of the good benefits that they have given to the wider outstanding communities. MarketWatch helps display worldwide sales to date to show the domination of the market, with net sales in 2021 reaching over 10.1% for Hershey, while Nestle had an organic growth of 7.7%. Yet very few of these profits managed to make their way back into the small communities that help produce these treats. Through my research, I learned about the practices and use of child labor in many chocolate brands, and I urge you today to make more conscious purchases as often as possible when you are able to. Because of the severity of the issues presented by the current child labor practices, individuals should ensure that they are ethically sourcing their chocolates by looking for the Fair Trade label and logo. Although Nestle and Hershey have procedures in place to eliminate child labor, it still persists in both chains through faulty monitoring systems, initiative violations, and greedy practices that prove fair trade chocolate is still the better option. For decades, both companies have faced allegations of unfair labor practices, and the evidence is shown by their own systems. Hershey uses the CLMRS, or the Child Labor Monitoring and Remediation Systems, to monitor child labor in cocoa growing communities to ensure that children are not being subjected to forced labor. According to a 2015 study from Impact, however, an estimated 1.8 million children work on cocoa farms around the world, which reveals the lack of systemic changes in our production processes. The CLMRS reported that 6,829 children were found to be doing quote-unquote inappropriate work, which is 11% of surveyed children. Hershey has also been accused of violating their Cocoa for Good initiative by the Ivory Coast and Ghanaian governments for refusing to pay their farmers the premiums that they were owed. Another controversial issue is presented by Hershey is their sourcing of palm oil from Malaysia and Indonesia. Nestle has not escaped these allegations and now releases a yearly child labor report. However, they still use the flawed CLMRS system, and it directly states that their child labor is at 23% out of 78,580 children being monitored. According to the report, children who have been identified as continuing to do hazardous work after 2 or more home visits are considered difficult to solve, meaning the 2,624 children being subjected to child labor still, after only 2 home visits, are determined to be too difficult to solve. Dr. Christy Leslie has dedicated her entire career researching the effects of child labor in the cocoa industry and discusses how harm reduction looks different from case to case in the Nestle's 2019 report on child labor. Combined, Hershey and Nestle have over $30 billion in annual profits according to their sales reports. Personally, I believe these profits should be going directly into the small communities producing these products, especially ones that are having to extort child labor to ensure financial survival. Ulf Mark Schneider, CEO of Nestle, and Michelle Buck, the CEO of Hershey, have each made more than $10 million from their work while avoiding accountability in company practices. In 2018, one major supplier to both companies and several other major chocolate brands, FGV was found to be relying heavily on undocumented and trafficked labor to meet increasing demands. Just a year later, they were sanctioned by the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil, or the RSPO, for their forced labor, possible trafficking, and numerous other violations of Malaysian labor laws as reported by Earthsight. FGV supplies to many of the major chocolate brands and was found to be in breach of more than 25 sustainability certification criteria. As a result, the company released a statement on their response that included freezing hiring practices until they satisfied their policies and guidelines. Hershey also releases periodic reports regarding palm oil traceability and where they're sourcing from each individual farm. However, civil society organizations are rightfully calling for greater discipline against companies found in breach of sustainability criteria, but the results of these changes are pending and are developing daily depending on the area. Slave-Free Chocolate has an entire website dedicated to preventing child labor, educating individuals, and producing ethically grown cocoa with a list of reputable companies. Hershey and Nestle did not make this list. The Fair Trade label is one of the best indications of ethical chocolate, but you can also reach out to any company that is unclear on production standards and practices to be able to find out more information. Of course, there is no real ethical consumption during late-stage capitalism. Almost everything we buy has some sort of deeper meaning attached to it that was caused and produced by somebody else being exploited. However, when we are in control and we have more knowledge about our production standards and practices, we are able to implement greater changes into our processes by just making a simple swap during a grocery store trip. Fair Trade Chocolate ensures that faulty monitoring systems, initiative violations, and greedy practices are not involved in production of some of our favorite sweets, unlike Hershey and Nestle. We can be the generation to end child labor by holding large corporations accountable by forcing them to change their standards of operation and practices, making forward purchases to be able to help end child labor. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful day.